This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about some of the most common ways rich people accidentally destroy their wealth and how you can avoid falling into these traps. One of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes, and actually only one that I've come across recently, is don't risk what you have and need in order to pursue what you don't have and don't need. I think this quote perfectly captures the essence of growing and preserving wealth and how to avoid accidentally destroying your wealth. This week, I've talked about the dangers of overconcentration, bad financial advice, letting your ego drive decisions, confusing assets with stuff. And all of these cautionary themes boil down to Buffett's wisdom. Don't jeopardize what's essential and what you already have for something that's completely unnecessary. It's not about burying the money in the backyard. Like, I'm not suggesting that once you reach a certain level of wealth where you're comfortable that you're just like, that's it, enough is enough. I'm just going to bury it all in the backyard. It's not about that. It's not about avoiding all risk altogether, because there's risk in that too. You have inflation. You're losing money on real terms if you don't continue to invest and see that grow even just a little bit over time. But really what it's about is making prudent decisions, managing risk, avoiding the biggest mistakes and the major losses. Excessive risk taking might be fine for 20 or 30 something crypto bro who can afford to lose it all and still have lots of time, decades left to rebuild. But too many people, and for those of you listening who are nearing retirement, or if you're already retired, the stakes are so much higher. Which brings me to a growing problem that I see among today's investors, especially those close to retirement. And that is what the title of today's episode suggests: too much risk taking. I see a lot of financial decisions today that are based on speculation, the fear of missing out, not on fundamentals. And I've seen firsthand, and many of you listening to, it's been a while, it's in the kind of faded, fuzzy memory at this point, but most of you listening are not too young, and it's not too long ago at this point for you to not remember pretty clearly what happened in 2008 during the Great Recession, the global financial crisis. It was very, very painful. It was a very dark time. And I know people in 2008 who had either just retired or were getting ready to retire, and they were pretty heavy in stocks at the time. It was a time of exuberant investing. Like, I remember thinking that because I couldn't yet afford to buy a house in 2005 and the real estate prices were skyrocketing, I was like, this trajectory is going to go up forever. I better get in and buy a house before I get locked out because I can't afford it because the prices have just gone up so much. And I see a lot of that today, actually, in real estate, but also in stock market investing, particularly with some of the biggest tech names. So these same patterns that exist, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. And we need to remember that. Investors who are heavily concentrated in today's tech darlings are at a very high risk. And eventually the economy is going to slow down enough and the economy is going to enter a recession and the music stops. The next downturn is going to expose these risks of putting too much faith and too much of your wealth into any one company or sector. So if you only need a, let's say, 5-6% return to grow your wealth and have enough, I ask you a very important question. Why are you investing with the aim of doubling your money in the next 2 or 3 years? That is the promise of many tech stocks, many high-flying stocks today. And so a lot of people have been lured into that. They think that, this is going to be the one. I'm going to hit it big. And 5-6% return, even if they run the numbers on that, it's going to likely be enough for many people. But they'll position their assets in much more risky things instead that have a higher return potential, yes, but I'm increasingly seeing this where it's completely untethered to economic and fundamental realities, some of the valuations that some of these stocks are at. So if you're close to retirement, try to apply the concept of what's enough. When do you have enough? When can you downshift, take a little bit less risk, invest less of your portfolio in concentrated assets, invest in more bonds and more things that are going to provide stability and income as well as growth. So the takeaway is really protect what you've worked hard to build and don't chase what you don't need at the expense of what you already have. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michikay, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.